Thank you.
All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to the December 2025 MAS monthly meeting. My name is Waltz Treybergs. I'm the president of MAS. Tonight is first and foremost a business meeting. We've got our board elections that we've got to get through. And then we've got, basically, let me go to the agenda slide. We got to make sure we have a quorum. Looks like we won't have any problem getting a quorum, but we've got to do it by the book and look at, cross-reference it against our membership list, but everything looks pretty good. It's pretty full house right now. So what I'm going to start with, we're going to have a brief introduction to the candidates. So Noha and John are here. Jessi is sick at home. Yeah, but she is online, so she'll also be doing that. So we'll have a brief introduction and a brief stump speeches from the candidates. And then we're going to dive right into our voting. We're going to launch the online poll for the people who are watching the meeting online. Then once we get the voting going, then I'll dive into some of our usual content, membership update, got an Astro event slide, and talk about upcoming MAS events. Then Noha will dive into the treasurer's report, November year-to-date summary. And then I believe Jerry Jones is here. Yes, there is Jerry. Jerry is in the house. He's got some swag to give out. And then we're going to try to get to our featured speaker, Todd Burlet from Starry Skies North, early in the program. And then once he's done, then we can go around and walk around and peruse the goodies and do our wheeling and dealing. So, all right, let's get going here. So, board candidates, come on up with the microphone.
I got the microphone, I guess.
All right, so meet your board candidates. So, stump speech time. And Jessi,
I don't have a speech. I always stand up here and just show numbers, but hi, I'm Noha. For those of you who have not met me or have not attended the online meeting, I've been the treasurer. I was appointed as the treasurer last January. Since I started, I guess since I took on, redid the structure, was able to transfer a lot of our filings to be done in-house and hopefully save us some more money in the future. I don't know. I'm excited. I'm happy to continue.
Thank you, Noha.
Well, I'm John Zimitsch. I'm currently the vice president. I'm serving my second term, just completing now. So I'm running for a third term. So that will be my final. I'll be term limited by the bylaws. And you may not want to vote for me because you question my sanity for running for a third. But no, one of my objectives when I first joined the board was to, after I got my feet on the ground, just to give us a little more maturity in operations. And that's what I've been focusing on, and being a good steward of the club resources. We have a large club. It's grown. We've done a lot. I'm not going to repeat my bio. If you want to see it, it's online. So you can go out there and read all the really wonderful things I wrote. But other than that, just I appreciate those who voted for me on the previous elections, and just if you show me confidence and what we're doing, where the club's going, I think we're doing really well. So thank you.
All right, thank you, John. Jessi, if you're online, can you
I'm here.
we'd love to hear a few words.
I'm here. I'm Jessi. I'm the current board member at large too.
If you're talking, we're not hearing you.
You're not hearing me. That's weird.
So I will then speak for Jessi. So Jessi has been board member at large for 2 years, and she's done a good job. She's done a lot of the handouts and done a lot of the artwork and some of the new the background stuff, new graphics that we're going to use on the website. And on our upcoming revamp of our swag store. So she's been active on the board and doing a lot of other odds and ends on that. So unless Jessi, are you online?
I'm online. I think I figured out why it
Okay.
wasn't working.
All right,
But
we just don't
that
hear
was a
you.
great job, Vault. Thank you. Um, yeah, can you hear me? Hello?
Sorry about that. We're just not hearing you in the room.
Okay, sorry. I don't know what's not working. But yeah, I guess they can hear me online. Um, I don't know what you want me to do. So, but yeah, I'm Jessi. I'm the current board member at large too, and I look forward to serving for another 2 years. So I don't know what else you want me to say. Vault's pretty much covered it. And that's about it. I have a cat jumping everywhere. Sorry. Okay, I'm done.
Thank you, Jessi. So unfortunately, we couldn't hear her in her room, but so Jessi, talk one little bit more. Just say hi.
Hi, can you hear that?
No, we're
No?
not getting in the audio.
Oh, that's
We have to
weird.
figure that out for the main speaker though. Okay. All right, let's go. Let's move on.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. We hear you now. In one sentence, Jessi, just say hi. Uh-oh, we lost you.
Do my computer. There, is that better?
Yay. Now we hear you.
Okay, good.
Couple sentences.
I'm Jessi, current board member at large too. I'm into graphics and I don't know. Vault's pretty much covered it. But I'm looking forward to being on the board again. I'm going to start coughing. Excuse me. But yeah, this will be fun. And I've really enjoyed my past 2 years on the board. And look forward to keep doing some more good. Damn cat. Get off my computer. Sorry.
All right, we don't have that problem here.
Say hi. Hi.
That was fun.
Yeah, so if you join the outreach committee, then you can have that kind of fun too.
Yes, I'm on outreach. Sorry. I have COVID.
All right, very good. Well, thank you, all board candidates. Unfortunately, we didn't have a whole slew of candidates. We only have one candidate for each position, so it should be an easy vote. But what I want to do right now is go and launch the vote. So please, everybody in house who are members, please cast your ballot. Phil will come around and pick up all your ballots. John has launched the poll for the people online on Zoom. So people online on Zoom can fill out the poll and submit the results that way. Our plan is to tally all the results and just give you the final tally after the main speaker has completed, after Todd Burlet has spoken, and then we'll move on. All right, thank you very much. So again, we're looking for 10% for quorum. We need 10% of the club membership or a minimum of 50 people. You should have a paper ballot or online. We will be cross-referencing people for the membership list, so active membership list. So family membership counts as one vote. So we will be doing that, but looks pretty straightforward. All right, let's move on. So election has started. All right, new members, welcome new and returning members. So we've got a bunch of new members this month. Is there anybody on this list who's a new member who's either here in the room or online in Zoom? please speak up or raise your hand, and we just want to extend a big welcome to you. So anybody new? All right. Membership as of a couple days ago for Steve was 687 total members. As of December 1st, 3 honorary, 155 patron, 504 regular, 25 student. We've been hovering around 700, sometimes going over, sometimes under for the last few months. So that's kind of our membership number as of this. So if there's any questions about membership or any of the perks about membership, please reach out to Steve at membership@mnastro.org. All right. Astro events for December 2025. Let's start through it. Tonight, full moon. It's near perigee. What does that mean? Super moon. It was really bright last night. December 6th, Mercury, highest altitude. December 7th, a big banger, the Puppet Velid meteor shower. We got to really count those meteors there. Then on also that same night, we get the conjunction of Moon and Jupiter. And asteroid 16 Psyche is at opposition. So let's go for that one. Super Psyche. There you go. Then on the 9th, the monoceratid meteor shower, another banger. So third quarter moon, December 11th. The Sigma Hydrid meteor shower, December 12th. We're full of meteors this month. And then we got the Coma Berenice meteor shower on the 16th. Yeah. We got the Geminids. The Geminids are on December 14th. Now, what are the source of the Geminids? No, I'm showing it to you. It's asteroid Phaethon, which was thought to be a comet, but it's an asteroid, so we don't know. Yep, but that's where the Geminids come from. So those are Arecibo images from 2017. Yeah, good old Arecibo. We miss Arecibo. All right, conjunction of Moon and Mercury, December 18th. New moon, December 19th. Cold. Leonis Minorid meteor shower on the 20th. Can't wait for that one. Or the Ursid meteor shower on the 22nd. Conjunction of Moon and Saturn, December 26th. First quarter moon, December 26th. And before the next meeting, full moon on January 3rd. So all of the sky events mined from inthesky.org calendar. Anybody got some other events that I missed that are of note for the next month or so? Nope. All right, let's move on. Upcoming MAS events, kind of quiet season, but luckily, Suresh has launched his BSIG December presentation series. So our very own Dave Faulkner will be speaking Saturday, December 6th on Titan Dragonfly mission, 1 p.m. on Zoom. You can find links to that presentation on the MAS calendar and on the forum. And then on Monday, December 15th, the LLCC committee will be holding its open committee meeting on Zoom. So you can see the links to that meeting on the forum, Slack, happenings, and the MAS calendar. So the goal of the MAS open committee meetings is per our standing committee bylaws. We've got one open committee meeting where any member or anybody can join in and actually hear on the activities of that particular committee. You provide feedback and all that stuff. So we'd really like, from a LLCC standpoint, we'd really like to get feedback about NNSF, feedback about the observing weekends, about astronomy camp, and all of that other stuff. So please join us on Zoom. It'll be about 45 minutes, an hour. Just a casual conversation just to wrap up the year at LLCC. All right, and then the next monthly meeting will be Thursday, January 8th at 7 p.m. because the first Thursday of the month is January 1st, so holiday, so we pushed it off to the 8th of January, right here at the Ondetu Techa Education Center and on Zoom. All right, key holder training sessions. We've got nothing scheduled at this point, but it's just early sign up for next year. One reminder for site leaders, we want to start putting together our calendar for 2026. So if your committees put together a calendar for all your star parties and events, please submit them to Ahmed at programs@mnastro.org, and then we'll catalog all that stuff and get it uploaded onto the web calendar. All right. All right. In addition to the Standard Treasurer's Report, I want to say thank you to some other recent donations. So our anonymous benefactor, again, just about as every year, he is generously matching dollar for dollar every donation, and that includes donations, just outright cash. It also matches membership renewals, all of that stuff. So all of that is matched through the end of December, dollar for dollar. So thank you very, very much to our generous benefactor for that. A couple other donations have come in. DAF Giving 360 is a foundation. Larry and Elizabeth Morgan Charitable Fund, we received a surprise donation from them. And the Anderson Corporation Blackbaud Giving Fund, I believe that was an employee match. And then we got to thank we've been receiving a lot of equipment lately, as you can see, all the goodies on the table and all the stuff that we've been selling on the forum. So thank you to Mark Walduff, Jim Marudas, and James Shentz for a lot of the equipment that has been donated to us for either selling, using, or donating further. And we're doing pretty much all of that, using what we can and donating some scopes to some outreach facilities. Ron and other people have taken a couple scopes for their efforts and that kind of stuff. And then we've also had many other generous members who have already given through the match and give to the Max Day as well. So thank you to everybody who supports the MAS. So if you do work for an employer that has some kind of matching program, please look that up. And a lot of times they'll either do like my company, for example, does a $250 a year just outright giving to charitable organizations. They also do employee one-for-one matches for whatever I give. So I'm sure a lot of larger companies have similar or even better programs than that. So check with your employer if that's an option. All right. How else can you help the MAS? So currently there are 2 committees that are looking for volunteers. So the LLCC committee we've recently decided that we want to expand a little bit and get a little more help up at Long Lake. We really would like to have more people familiar hands-on with the big obsession telescopes and working with the servocats and stuff like that, because the 25 and 30-inch scopes are really, really hard to handle, hard to maintain. And if we're just going up there once a weekend or twice a weekend, 2-3 times a year, those scopes sit up there idle and they're really finicky. So they need a lot of TLC. So experts at servocat and big Dobsonian control systems really would be appreciated. But any help we can get, arranging the weekend star parties, doing key holder training, all of that stuff. Interested in that. Also, Jessi is looking for additional people to help her out on the outreach committee. So that's another option. All right, other ways to do it, member presentations. So we will not have a member presentation tonight because we want to go and look at all the good stuff on the tables. So we won't have that, but we always have member presentations needed. All right, Father Brown always needs also articles for the Gemini. So please send articles to Father Brown. Last month he was short on articles and was begging for articles, and we tried to push him off and give him a lot of photographs and other filler material. But so articles about projects that you're working on, or trips that you've made, or tours that you've been on, or some observing campaigns, all that stuff is fair game either for a Gemini article or a member presentation. All right. Again, join any committee. You help out at key holder events, become a key holder at ELO or Cedar Creek, or help out at a BSIG event. Those are always fun events to attend and help out on. All right. One other thing that's new. So at LLCC, we're actively trying to grow our astronomy camp. And so one of the things that has been very successful is a book bingo. So if anyone has some beginner basic astronomy books that they're no longer using, please bring it to one of the meetings, pass it on to anybody of the LLCC committee, and we will add it to the pile of books that we give away in the book bingo at astronomy camp. This year, astronomy camp, I believe, is in mid-August up at LLCC. So if you have an old star chart or a finder or a planisphere or any kind of beginners like middle school to high school level astronomy books, that's what we're really looking for our book bingo. All right, and then always there's opportunities for outreach. Look at the Slack outreach list and look at the forum, outreach forum. Jessi keeps everything up to date and tries to drum up support for some of the upcoming outreach events. I believe we got events coming up at the Bell and Da Vinci Fest and some of this other stuff coming up early in 2026, because 2026 is going to be here pretty quick. All right. So again, if you have any questions or want to do anything, you don't know who to call, just email info@mnastro.org. Secretary gets that email. I get that email. We will respond to you right away. All right. Mr. Jerry Jones is in the house. I turn this over to Jerry.
Details.
Sorry.
Good evening, everyone. Whoa. I have 2 awards to hand out. Jack Shelton, are you here? There he is. Come on up. Applause, applause, applause. Jack Shelton has completed the Globular Cluster Observing Program. Congratulations. Well done. Share a little bit about your struggles and challenges and winners in this one.
Excuse me. So I started on this one, I've been working slowly through the Herschel, like I think everybody does at some point. And I got to the Ophiuchus and the Serpens globulars. I thought, that's kind of fun. Just stay in here for a little while. Oh, sorry. How's that? So I got to the Ophiuchus and the Serpens globulars this past summer. I thought, how fun is that? And the last meeting I was at, there were people behind me talking about how much they like looking at globulars. Thought, you know what? I think I'm going to do that. It was an easy progression to do. Most of them are pretty straightforward to find. I used a 16-inch Dob for most of them. The best scope I had was an 8-inch Cass. That probably had the best definition, but I didn't have it with me. The easiest one, all the usual ones are on there, M22, 13, all of those. Hardest one, there were 2 Palomar ones that were the devil to find, but I found them. So it took about an hour on one of them. Yeah. It was fun. I highly recommend it. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
The globular cluster list is an excellent list for the summertime. This would not be a good time to start it. The second one, so this time the awards are split evenly between visual and imaging. What a deal. That was our visual. Tom Holman, come on up. Applause, applause, applause. Finished his sun spotter. Congratulations. And share a little bit about what you did and how you did it.
So I've said this before, but I used the C-Star S50. Did a pretty nice job on sunspots, but not with the filter that comes with it. So I got a Bader filter. Is that how you pronounce that? Bader, that's what Jerry said. And it turned out pretty nice. And so you had to find 20 pictures of the disk. You had to identify every sunspot on it, categorize it, point them out, and then you have to find 5 more complicated sunspots and include all of the details around that sunspot. So, and you have to take that over 2 rotations of the sun. And I lucked out with clouds. Some days it was cloudy everywhere but the sun, and I got my image. So that was it.
And this is a good time to consider doing SunSpotter. And you don't want to wait too long because we'll wind up getting into solar minimum and then it is a real drag. Back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. And I want to add a couple things. So I've been also tracking the AL Special Observing Challenges that they post on their website. So T Corona Borealis is still out there. So we'll see if that ever blows. But there's a new one. There's the 3i Atlas Observing Challenge now. So deadline for submission of that one is January 31st. So if anybody wants to learn about the special observing challenges from the AL, that's the website. Just go to the astroleague.org website and you can find it there. So what do we do at the end of the AL League awards and info slide?
Get out there and observe or image.
All right. That's virtual, Jerry. Thank you, Jerry. All right, so let's dive right into our featured speaker. Can we confirm, is Tom online? Tom, are you online? Or Todd? So Todd Burlet is an active member of Starry Skies North team, serving at events around the state, leading talks, making relationships, and leading projects to further our efforts to protect the night sky. He lives in Maple Grove. He's a lifelong amateur astronomer and photographer. And when he's not advocating for dark skies, enjoys landscape and nightscape photography, canoeing, scuba diving, and all that other stuff, including solar. So Todd, are you online?
I am. All right. So thanks, everyone. Good evening, everyone. I'm Todd Burlet. I'm president of Starry Skies North. Many of you know me, or at least know of Starry Skies North, or at least our work. We are the Minnesota chapter of Dark Sky International. We work really across the state, all the way from up in Grand Marais, all the way down to Forestville Mystery Cave State Park. We're just launching our sister chapter up in North Dakota, having previously launched chapters in Michigan and Wisconsin. Not solely, of course, a lot of the great folks in those states did most of the lifting, but we were there to support them. And now down in Iowa, and then South Dakota was an existing chapter. So I'm really happy to report that within the next month or two, we should have the entire upper Midwest represented with Dark Sky International chapters. Okay, so that's the brief background on me. Let's see if I can click the right thing. There we go. Okay, so we're here to talk about light pollution. We're here to talk about, obviously, everyone that's here cares about light pollution. You guys are the choir, right? So my intent here isn't to convince you that you care about light pollution. What I really want to do is convince you or show you ways that you can help everyone that you know, and I do mean everyone, whether they care about stars or not, that they too care about light pollution. And we'll get into that just a little bit. I'd move through these first slides pretty quickly because, again, talking to the choir, here are the main 4 types of light pollution that we generally think of. Glare, obviously, when you've got that emitter shining directly into your eyes. Clutter, when you've got a lot of emitters shining into your eyes, either through overlighting, bad shielding, a lot of glare, what have you. Light trespass, of course, we hate that. That's that light that you don't control that's ending up in your telescope, it's ending up in your yard, it's ending up in your bedroom windows. That's light trespass, when it's somebody else's light and it's bugging you, excuse me. And then, of course, sky glow, right? We hate sky glow. Last time I checked, the Sky Glow Dome from Minneapolis, St. Paul, was 200 miles in diameter. It extends all the way south into Iowa, extends all the way up into Hinckley. And I don't need to tell you guys that you're dealing with it in Afton or with Young America, what have you. So obviously a pretty serious problem. So here's the situation. We're we've got the advantage of having some pretty decent dark skies, especially in the northern half of the state. We have more certified dark skies through Dark Sky International. So we've got Voyageurs National Park, and we've got the Boundary Waters Canoe Area up in northern Minnesota that are formally designated as international dark sky places. We've got more international dark sky places right here in Minnesota than the entire eastern half of the rest of the United States combined. So you can take Florida, you can take Ohio, Tennessee, Michigan, lump them all together, and we still have more pristine dark skies here, which is great. But of course, there's no formal protection on those, and we're always at risk of losing those. If a data center goes in, if some big open pit mine operation goes in, and they bring those lights with. So they're designated, but they're not protected like a federal wilderness would be. Obviously, some factoids on the side there, you guys are probably very familiar with. We're down to 20% of Americans being able to see the Milky Way from where they live. They can step out of their backyard and look up and see the Milky Way. And of course, that's a tragedy, right? Because 100 years ago, that was the most common thing that we did for all of human existence up until about 100 years ago. That was half of the day, right? Half of the night. We would step outside of our cave, our hut, what have you, and there was the vault of the heavens over us. And of course, that led to some deep cultural, religious connections between ourselves and that night sky. And then the last 100 years, of course, that's all broken. And we'll talk a little bit about that. And of course, 99% of us are now living under some level of light pollution. But the worst thing of all of that isn't the current state, but the rate at which it's getting worse due to some great data that was done by the folks that analyzed the globe at night data that citizen scientists contributed. We now understand that light pollution is growing globally at 10% a year. Little bit faster in the third world where they're still adding a lot of lights, a little bit slower in the developed world because we're already so bright, but still globally about 10% a year, which means we're brightening the planet at a rate that every 7 years it becomes twice as bright as it was. So think about, kids that are born today, by the time they're of drinking age, the planet will be 8 times brighter than it is right now, and how much brighter can we tolerate. So again, I get it, I'm preaching to the choir here, but this is ammunition that I'm giving all of you so that when you're having these conversations around the Christmas dinner table or what have you, around the water cooler, these are some things that you can share with those people that maybe care a little bit less about the night sky than you and I do, but hopefully enough that we can get them on board. So I always like to pause here a little bit. So we're looking at all these pretty colors here, the whites and the reds and the greens. It's like, well, all right, Burlet, what does that mean? You guys probably have a fairly good idea because you live this every night. But for those that are maybe a little bit less familiar with this, what did we do here? All right, hang on, we'll get all the way up to the top. How did that happen? That was really good. All right, well, we'll do it the hard way. We'll just make you go back in time and watch this whole thing in reverse. There we go. Oh, that was fun. Okay, so zooming in on Minnesota, this of course is VIIRS data. It's coming from the VIIRS satellite. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the limitations of VIIRS and why that makes globe at night really super important. But this is the 2016 data analysis of the VIIRS satellite data. And the reason we always look at the 2016 data is because this is the year that the researchers went and ran an atmospheric distribution model on it. They, of course, when you're up in the satellite, what do you see? You see the light that came out of the atmosphere. So by definition, it's the not sky glow. But they were able to then work backwards through atmospheric physics and say, all right, if this is the light that made it out of the atmosphere, what does the light look like back to the humans on the surface of the Earth in terms of as that light and its brethren was on its way out of the atmosphere, how did it scatter off of aerosols after atoms and molecules in the atmosphere? And so we get the VIIRS scientist estimate of what sky glow would have looked like to all of us down here on the surface of the Earth. And so you see two arrows here. This is, we're fortunate enough, we've got a cabin up on Leech Lake, which is that top arrow and that top image. And then I live down in Maple Grove, which is the bottom arrow and the bottom image. So a lot of you are familiar with camera settings. There's my camera on the lower left there. It's a digital Nikon camera. Went out, same settings, same everything, one day apart. One day or one night ran out, ran down to the lake, took this picture, beautiful picture of the Milky Way. Those are some cities that there's a casino in that image that's about 12 miles away, is fairly close. That light you see way over on the left-hand side, that's one guy's light at the end of his dock. That's 1.6 miles away. And then in there too is Crosby and Ironton and Walker. And Crosby and Ironton are about 45 miles away. But despite all of those light domes, beautiful picture of the Milky Way. Came back the next day, stepped out into my backyard. We've got a Hennepin Parks regional trail that runs just past the backyard. Ran down there, pointed the camera in the same general direction. If you do enough image processing with this picture, you can find enough stars to convince yourself that, yeah, the Milky Way should be in that picture. But that's the same settings, that's the same everything. And so you can see the difference between a Bortle 2, a one notch up from pristine dark skies, to a Bortle 7, which is pretty typical of suburban areas. So that tells you that everyone that's under those orange and yellow are seeing, instead of seeing the Milky Way, they're seeing a few limp stars shining through the sky glow. And of course, when you get down to the central city, you're seeing even less of that. I was up in Voyageurs National Park here a couple months ago, back in August, and met a young lad who is from Minnetonka. And he was a middle schooler, and we were talking about what his experience was in the night sky, because he was very interested in the night sky very clearly. And he told me when he steps outside of his back door in Minnetonka and he looks up, he can see one star, one single star. And of course, that's heartbreaking, right? Because we know what's actually out there. And so we'll talk a little bit about how we can help that young lad and all of us enjoy a little bit more than just a single star in our night sky. Okay, so and we're going to talk about how we can convince everyone around us, like I said, how they actually care about light pollution. So this is what I call my one slide conversion piece. And I'm not going to spend too much time reading through all of these right now, because we're going to touch on all of these very briefly through the rest of the presentation. But the takeaway that I want to make sure that you come away with is, if anyone that you're talking to cares about even one of these things, they care about light pollution. So human health and wellness, and the impacts on cancer and other diseases that we'll talk about, healthy aging, wildlife and ecosystems, obviously, cultural heritage, environmental justice, sustainability. You know, who doesn't want to talk about saving some money on their pocketbook? That sense of awe that we experience. And then astrotourism, or more the broader umbrella term that I'm enjoying using these days, noctourism, so nocturnal tourism. So if people care about any of these, any one of those 8, I think most people care about probably all 8, I would like to think, they care about light pollution. And we're going to talk now about how you can make that connection for them between things that they care about, like human health and light pollution, and convert them into actually being our allies in the fight against light pollution. So let's jump in. Health and wellness, healthy aging. All right, so here we go with the geeky stuff. I'm starting to peg the geekometer already, but I promise there's not too much geeky stuff. But I love this slide because I get to talk about just how much more melatonin is than we really generally think of it. So we've all heard of melatonin, right? That's the thing that we need so we get a good night's sleep, right? And if we get all of that blue light in our eyes, there goes the melatonin, and I'm not going to get a good night's sleep. Guess what? Melatonin is far more important than that, and it's far older than us humans. Helping us sleep at night, that's just kind of one of its latest tricks that it's picked up along the way This thing is an old dog, and it has learned some new tricks. It started off its existence back about 3.5 billion years ago. Oh, I should back up. So what this slide is, it's really busy, so I'll break it down. Top half is plants, bottom half is animals. In the middle there, it's kind of a timeline, pretty pictures of all of the different life forms that we're talking about. So we're talking all the way back to single-celled plants, single-cell animals. We're talking bacteria. We're talking fungi. We're talking protozoas, what have you. And those different lines that you see there, where it says antioxidant in red, and then you'll see immunity, those are approximate times when melatonin learned a new trick. So it actually started out as an antioxidant for plants and microbial life to repair and recover when they were exposed to UV light from the sun during the day. Somewhere around, about a half a billion years ago or so, it figured out, or our bodies figured out, that we could co-opt melatonin for additional functions, such as immunity, helping with our circadian rhythm, helping with DNA repair, and yes, along the way, helping us get a better sleep at night. So when we start to talk about impact on melatonin, keep in mind as you're talking to people that melatonin is far more than just that thing that's going to help them wake up feeling refreshed. So I should mention, full disclosure, I had knee surgery yesterday. I'm on some pretty good drugs. So if I'm fumbling around a little bit, I'm blaming the drugs. So usually I don't get to use that excuse, but tonight I'm totally leaning into that excuse. So if I'm fumbling around a little bit, blame the drugs. Okay, so waking up feeling refreshed, and it's of course far more than that. So it's fundamental to maintaining good health throughout our lives. And what did we see on the top half of this slide? What did I say? Plants. Melatonin is in far more than humans. I mentioned it. It's in algae, it's in bacteria, it's in plants, it's in every living thing that you or the people you're talking to have ever encountered. Birds and salamanders and fish and orchids, oh my. So keep that in mind. Okay, so what happens? Obviously, those blue bright LEDs have a lot of, well, I just said a blue light coming out of them. And it makes our brain think it's daytime. And why is that? Because humans have not 4 sensors in our eye, 4 light sensors. We're used to the 3 rods, right? Red, green, and blue, plus our cones. So we got 4. There's a 5th one that we don't talk about much. It's a non-visual sensor. It's called intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells. And I think that right there tells you why we don't talk about it much, because it's a real tongue twister. But what they are, and there aren't a lot of them in our eye, but there's enough, and they're part of our non-visual light sensing system. The signal from those cells doesn't go to our visual cortex. It goes deep into the brain, into the pineal gland, and it's used as a signal. And what does it use to decide when to send that signal? The blue light of the sky. So LEDs are new, incandescent lights are new, but the sky is as old as the planet, right? And so when early life evolved, there was a blue vault above them all day long, and that was daytime. And when it was not blue, it was nighttime. So we and many other creatures evolved that sense of looking for the blue light. Brain, hey, I see blue. I'm the IPRGCs. Time to wake up. Time to discover fire, time to invent the wheel, time to go, 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 right? And then when blue light goes out of the sky at night, dusk, you think about that sky turning orange, that was the signal that it's time to rest, repair, recover. And so the brain knows that, but how is it going to tell the rest of the body? It needs to tell the liver, the kidneys, the spleen, everything else that it's nighttime. And that's where hormones come in. Hormones are chemicals produced in one part of the body to send a signal to the other part of the body. So melatonin is the signaling mechanism from the brain to the rest of the body that says, hey, guys, guess what? The IPRGCs just told me it's nighttime. You better stop what you're doing, send out the rest, repair, recovery crew, DNA repair mechanisms, go, 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 because now's our chance. And if that doesn't happen, then that damage starts to accumulate over time. And that's what leads to these health impacts. So here you go. What does that hit us with? Cancer, diabetes, anxiety, depression, obesity, heart disease, bipolar disorder, PTSD symptoms. So what did you notice about that list? There's this physical impacts there. We got cancer, and then we got what we call the metabolic diseases, diabetes, heart disease, obesity, but also mental health issues, right? Bipolar disorder, worsening of PTSD symptoms. Both of these are happening because we're not getting that signal to the rest of the body that says rest, repair, recover, get ready for the next day. And every one of these things that's on here is strongly supported in the scientific literature. This isn't one study. This is multiple studies over, well, the last 70 years, since the 1960s is when we first became aware of these issues. Research is still ongoing. Now they're looking at possibly macular degeneration, dementia, premature birth, and more. And for this reason and many others, back in 2009, and then again they did it in 2016, the American Medical Association came out and said specifically to cities, those streetlights, 3,000 Kelvin or lower, because otherwise you're generating too much blue bright light and it's creating a health impact for the citizens of the United States. So this has been well known. It's been well accepted by our medical association. So very well established. Light and aging eyes. So that was number one. So we talked about those 8 reasons. So that was number one, human health and wellness. So at this point, I'm pretty sure everyone that you talk to cares about either their human health and wellness or the health and wellness of somebody they know. So hopefully right out of the gate, we've already got 100% of the people we're talking to caring about light pollution. But we're going to go through some of these other ones because it just kind of reinforces, right? So light and aging eyes. Light such as glare is hard on all of us, but it's especially hard on older folks. Because our older eyes are slower to adapt, right? We've got those irises, and you guys all know this as well as anybody, right? It's taking a little bit longer for that dark adaptation, isn't it? Not like it did when you were 15 and 20 and 25. It's taking longer for those irises to open, and it's also taking longer for those irises to close down. So when we're exposed to those glaring lights, whether it's from the neighbor's garage lights or the headlights coming at us, it takes us a little bit longer for that iris to open back up, and we've got that momentary night blindness. So if we're driving a car, we're driving further down that road with night blindness after passing something glaring. And if there's an obstacle, if there's a hazard, if there's a person, a bike in that road, we've traveled that much closer to them before our eyes have recovered enough to be able to see that object. Obviously, that's a huge issue in terms of being confident about being out and driving at night. Or if you're just trying to walk down a sidewalk and you've got that glaring street light shining in your eye and you pass that, now it's going to take a little bit longer before you can see all of those cracks in the sidewalk, all of those bumps, all of those sticks, what have you. Scatter is 16 times worse for us older people. Because why? Because we've got more cellular crap that has built up in our eyes. We've got more of those floaters. We've got more proteins that have broken off and have collected in our eye. And of course, our lenses are getting cloudier and cloudier as they age. And if they get bad enough, then we call that cataracts. So we got that scatter, which is even worse if it's blue light, because blue light scatters more in our eyes for the exact same reasons that it scatters more in the atmosphere, that Rayleigh scattering, that light scattering off of cells, in this case, protein matter, just other the vitreous humor within the eye. So 16 times worse for older eyes than for younger eyes. Clutter, of course, clutter is a visual thing, right? It's not a sensory thing. Clutter happens in the brain, if you will, because that's where vision happens. We see with our eyes, we sense with our eyes, but vision takes place in the brain. And as our brains age, it takes us just a little bit longer and a little bit longer to process a busy image like that one that you see on the right there. And all of that processing, as it's taking time, if we're moving through that environment quickly, driving a car, riding a bike, what have you, we're going to travel just that much further before our brains have made sense of every light, every object in that visual field. So if this was a simpler, more succinctly lit environment, we'd be able to make sense of that scene and find all of the important bits, such as the pedestrians and the bikers, just that much quicker. And then visual artifacts. Blue light at any age is 3 times worse than red light for those halos, those starbursts that we get. So all of these combined are adding these visual challenges, which then in turn lead to mobility and independence challenges, right? Because us old people aren't dumb. We look at what we're experiencing and we go, oh, I don't feel safe driving at night. I guess I'm going to stay at home. And now I'm not living my fullest life. So that's impacting their mobility. It's impacting their independence and therefore their quality of life. So point number 2, if you care about older people, if you are an older people, if you have older people in your life, guess what? You care about light pollution. Ecosystems. I love this little poem. I'll read it. It's called To Know the Dark. It touches me. Hopefully it touches many of you. To go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To go in the dark, to know the dark, go dark. Go without sight and find that the dark too blooms and sings and is traveled by dark feet and dark wings. It's just a reminder to all of us that there's so much happening at night that we don't really appreciate. Okay, so wildlife and ecosystems, here you go. This is it in one slide. So we're not going to go through all of these in excruciating detail, but we are going to hit on some of these. Everything from water quality. We're going to talk about algae. We're going to talk about fish. Things like, you maybe have heard of these, walleye and bass. Anyone heard of a walleye? So we're going to talk about those. Amphibians, fireflies. Of course, who doesn't love fireflies? So they make great poster children. Some of those moths, that's a sphinx moth there. Mammals, we've got a lot of endangered bats here. Birds, of course, Audubon does a great job on that. And then we're going to talk about some of our plants. So we've already clued you up that plants are impacted by light pollution, and we'll get to that a little bit. So here we go. Okay, so water, what's going on with water? Algae's going on with water, because what is algae? Algae's a plant, right? And what do plants need? They need light. Typically sunlight, but they'll take that LED light if there's enough energy there, and that's going to help them grow, because especially in suburban areas, we've already put a lot of fertilizer in the water for them, food, and now we're adding energy, light. That's a recipe for a lot of algae growth, right? Well, how do you control algae growth? Well, if you're an ecosystem, you control it with the little things, the zooplankton, that eat algae, kind of the cows of the water, if you will. We call those zooplankton. They're the tiniest little animals at the bottom of the food chain, and they in turn become food for everything else going up the food chain. But being the tiniest little things at the bottom of the food chain, they don't like to be seen, because when they get seen, they get eaten. So what are they going to do? During the daytime, they stay deep in the water column where it's safer because it's a little darker down there. And then at night, they rise up and they chow down on algae all night. And that's how algae naturally get controlled, is by this zooplankton that's rising up in the water column. Unless, of course, they can't figure out that it's nighttime, because we've done what? We've shown lights into the water. And so now the zooplankton think it's still daytime. They're not stupid. They're not going to come up and get eaten. So they're staying deeper down in the water column. Nothing's eating the algae. The zooplankton aren't eating much of anything. So they're not getting plentiful. They're not getting big and fat, and not sustaining that bottom of the food chain. So if you talk to anyone that cares about clean, healthy lakes and water that isn't clogged with algae, they care about light pollution. Fish, we talked a little bit about that. Walleye, ambush predator. They like to hunt in the dusk and the dawn because they're an ambush predator. They want to be able to see with those big eyes. It's right there in the name, right? They've got those big eyes that let them find prey when they can see the prey and the prey can't see them. Now you add light, what happens? The prey can see them coming. Now it's a chase. And so that walleye is having to expend more energy to find that fish. They're burning through their calories. There's fewer walleye, there's smaller walleye because that we've modified that predator-prey relationship. We put our thumb on the scale in favor of the prey. Bass, meanwhile, are freaking out because of all of that light at night. They have cortisol, that stress hormone that we all have, Monday morning traffic. We're all pretty jacked up on cortisol, right? When we can't get to where we're going. Guess what? Just like melatonin, bass have cortisol. They're spending night freaked out trying to protect their nest, and they do have nests underwater. And they're doing what? They're burning through those calories too. So they're becoming less able to grow, get strong, make themselves a juicy meal for a bass fisherman. So our sports fishing in Minnesota are directly impacted by light pollution. Birds, of course, Audubon Society's done an amazing job of talking about things like building strikes, but there's much more happening with that, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a slide or two, I think. Pollinators. Who likes food? I can't see your hands, but I'm going to pretend all of you put your hands up because we have obviously our daytime pollinators. We've got our butterflies, which are mutant moths, as it turns out. But then all of our bees of various and sundry sorts and other insects. But we have great nighttime pollinators, including none other than our fireflies, our moths, obviously. Bats, not in Minnesota. Minnesota bats are not pollinators, but in some parts of the world they are. And so what are these nighttime pollinators doing on their night shift? They're pollinating our legumes, our peas, our beans, but also fun things. I think, it's like beans and peas, hooray. They're fine. But apples, blueberries, strawberries are all being visited by nocturnal pollinators, not exclusively, but those pollinators are increasing the crop yields because they're working alongside the day shift to increase the amount of pollination that we're getting. So those crop yields are higher. That means what? Crop prices are lower because now farmers can sell more product. They can lower the per unit cost of the product. So it's hitting our pocketbooks as well as hitting all of the natural environment because in addition to pollinating our food, they're also pollinating everything else out there. So those nighttime pollinators are vitally important to the economy of Minnesota, to our pocketbooks. One simple thing that you can do to help our pollinators, you can plant a moon garden. I don't go into a lot of detail in this presentation about what a moon garden is, but they're really fun and they're really easy to put in, and they really help a lot because you're creating kind of a nighttime oasis for those nighttime pollinators. Okay, so I promised to talk about more about birds. So here we are, building strikes, check that box. We all know about building strikes. We're not going to talk about that anymore because Audubon does a great job. But disorientation and what we call entrapment. So most of North America's birds, 70% of them migrate. 80% of those migrate at night. And there's really good reasons why they do that. So during peak migration system, you can have hundreds of millions of birds all in flight at the same time. And they're using what? They're using their night vision, and they're using their ability to detect polarized light to help them find their way as they're traveling either north or south. And that's fine and good until they get into a brightly lit urban area, such as the metro area here, or really any town or city that has enough light that it blocks out the polarized light with the unpolarized light from the street lights. Plus, of course, it's bright enough that the birds lose their night vision. Now they're trapped there, right? They can't see their way out. Just like if you had the bright lights on when you open the fridge, now you can't find your way around the refrigerator or around the kitchen. Same thing. These birds are trapped there. The ones that don't run into buildings, and there are plenty that don't, are going to spend the rest of the night flying around and around and around, trying to figure out how to get out of the kitchen. That lower image on the lower right there, that's the Freedom Tower and this is a still shot of a video of that night when on 9/11, when they light up those lights on the Freedom Tower. This is what happens. It attracts all of these birds. Fortunately, it's a good news story because they realized that they were creating a problem. They now work, the city officials work very closely with Audubon and other agencies to monitor this. And when the bird population gets to a certain level, they turn those lights off. They let those birds move on, get out of the beam of that light, and then they turn the light back on again because they realized what a problem it was that these lights were attracting and then entrapping these birds. So it's kind of a good news, bad news story there, but great that collaboration that we can celebrate 9/11, celebrate's the wrong word, but commemorate 9/11, and then still protect those birds. Stopover habitat avoidance. They're trying to find someplace as they're flying along during the day, they want to roost, right? They're not going to go someplace that has been fractured by light pollution. Someplace that if they're outside of the city, they want to go somewhere that's dark, right? Because they don't want to get eaten. So they're going to go to those places that are still dark. Disrupted sleep-wake cycle, same thing happening there. Birds have got what? Melatonin. I heard you all say it, I'm sure. Decreases the number of chicks. And the bottom period, the bottom one, this photo period, is really super critical because we like to talk about it for birds, but it's really applying to, again, just about every organism on the planet. Photo period masking, big fancy word. What it means is artificial light is tricking our natural ecosystems into thinking the day is longer than it actually is. And of course, it does that because any given animal is going to be monitoring the brightening dawn, and it's got an internal idea of how bright it is before they declare it's morning in their own mind. And they're going to start, if they're a rooster, they're going to start crowing. If it's birds, they're going to start singing. Other animals are off doing their morning routine. Same thing at night. How dark is it? Oh, it's dark enough that I need to go roost. All right. So now you've got that natural amount of light that is coming because the sun is rising or has just set. But now we've added to that, we've raised the overall level with light pollution. So now to that bird or other animal, it thinks the day is a little bit longer than it actually is. Jury's still out on whether that's a problem for birds on a daily basis, because you could argue, well, hey, that's more time for them to go out and catch the worms, right? So we're not sure if that's a net positive or a net negative, but we know it's a net negative when it comes to phenology, the seasonal length of day, because birds are using that not just to know when to wake up in the morning, but deciding when it is that they're going to migrate. So a bird that's already up here in Minnesota deciding when to migrate, it's October. Us humans know it's October, but the birds are still thinking it's September because all they can see is the length of the day, and the length of the day seems longer than it actually is. So they're delaying their departure. So what does that mean? That means it's gotten colder. It means the food sources that they're expecting to eat as they're traveling south to South America have maybe already frozen, have been eaten by the rural brethren of these birds, the birds that aren't exposed to light pollution, have already up and left. So they're going to have less chance of a successful migration. Same thing on the way back north. If they're in somewhere that's light polluted, they think it's April when it's actually March. They're going to get up here. The buds haven't burst. The insects haven't hatched. There's no food for them. It's colder. They're going to struggle to survive until the rest of nature catches up with them. So by messing with the photo period, the day length, we're directly impacting all of these birds. So we've talked about number 3 now, the ecosystem. So whether you're a fish, whether you're talking about algae, whether you're talking about birds, same thing going on with bats. I didn't talk about bats. We're not going to go into bats here, but you get the idea. If anyone cares about any element of the ecosystem, they care about light pollution, including who likes food? So we've talked about food already, right? Now we're talking about soybeans. This is a soybean field. I think this was down, I want to say Missouri, I think is where this picture was taken from. Don't quote me on that. But this is in the fall. All of that brown stuff that you see in around the edges of the photo, that's soybeans that have set. They're ready to go. The farmer's ready to get out there with the combine, harvest those soybeans, sell his product to market. What's going on with the green stuff? Well, you can probably see it sticking up there. That's a light pole. And those soybeans that are closest to the light pole are experiencing photoperiod masking. They don't think it's October. They still think it's September or whatever time we want to talk about. They're not ready to go yet. They say, no, I'm still going for it. I'm still doing my soybean thing. And so now the farmer has to decide, does he harvest around that and lower his crop yield? Or does he wait for this stuff to set and hope that we don't get an early snowfall, we don't get a hailstorm, we don't get weather events that prevent him from harvesting his crop? So now we've put either his crop yield at risk or his budget at risk, because now he's going to lose part of this field here. So if we care about the foods we're putting on the table, again, soybeans, regardless of what's going on geopolitically, we're impacting farmers' ability to make a living. So here we go. Just throwing a bunch of words up. You can pick whichever word you want. All of these are impacts that we're having on natural ecosystems. So what you see here, and I'm not going to read them all, these are all of the life cycle events, from courtship through mating, through hatching, through growth, through migration, gene expression. We could talk about epigenetic changes to the genes of frogs that are impacting the strength of their immune system. We could go on and on and on. Everything that an animal does throughout its lifetime, throughout its day, throughout its seasons, is being directly impacted by light pollution. So if you know anyone that likes to fish, cares about a bird, cares about the food they put on a table and how much that food costs, they care about light pollution. Okay, lights and safety, we have to talk about this, right? Because that's what do I always hear? I need my lights to keep me safer. Not so much. I tell people that light is a double-edged sword, and if you don't use it carefully, you can actually put yourself at greater risk by using the wrong light in the wrong way. And so what do I mean by that? Here's a couple examples. So we've already talked about glare, right? What happens when we've got that glaring light? So we've already talked about that, right? That eye is going to shut down with that iris. The human eye is amazing. We can see from the brightest thing that our eye can safely tolerate to the dimmest thing that we can see, which is in some cases as little as 1 photon. That's a magnitude range of 100 million, not stellar magnitudes, but a factor of 100 million between the dimmest thing and the brightest thing that we can see with our eyes, which is far greater than the range we can sense with any of our other senses, but not all at once. Our eye is always dynamically shifting. We've got our night vision, we've got our day vision, and of course within that we've got the iris working for us. So one of the things that the eye naturally evolved to do is to protect itself. So when it sees something super bright like this, that's that glare reflex. That's that light reflex where that iris is going to shut down. So at any given time, we can only see a range of about 1,000 from the brightest thing to the dimmest thing at that time. And so when we get that bright glaring light in our eye, things that were just dim behind that light, next to that light, fade into darkness and we can no longer see them. So that's hiding any threats that could have been there. Clutter. So we've already talked about visual processing and the time it takes us, especially if we're a little bit older, to process what's going on. So the more clutter we have in a scene, the longer it's taking us to figure out what's going on. And therefore, we're at greater risk for a longer period of time. Veiling luminance. So I just talked about that, right? That glare that we're getting off of these lights, and it limits our eyes to about a factor of 1,000. Here's a perfect example of this. Many of you may have seen this because it's a classic. Same scene with and without a shield to cover that glare. On the left-hand side, you can't see the person that's standing in the garden gate. On the right-hand side, you can see is the friendly neighbor coming over with a nice steaming hot plate of lutefisk to share with you. So veiling luminance. Why not? Reason number 3, this is a great experiment, and you don't need to go into too much detail here. I'm not sure what your screen resolution is going to be, but this was a great experiment. This was a controlled study that the city of Chicago did a number of years ago. They wanted to do something about crime, and they thought, hey, what if we light up our alleyways? Light prevents crime, right? So let's go out and light up our alleyways and prevent all of that crime. But they did it as an experiment. Some alleyways they left dark, others they lit, and they said, well, what's going to happen? So the red bars that you see here are the alleyways that they kept dark, and the blue are the alleyways that they lit up. And then each of those pairs is a different type of crime: prostitution, damage to property, weapons. As you can see, most of them are just kind of rattled around kind of at the noise level, except for the one that went up 50%. What's going on there? That was drug crimes. Drug-related crimes went up 50% when they added light to their alleyways. The researchers concluded that it was because what? The addicts could see what they were buying, and the dealers could see that they were being properly paid. It facilitated the transaction. So they actually drove up the crime rate by adding light. So if we put that all together, the takeaway that we always want to give people is light is not a substitute for personal safety best practices, regardless of what anyone believes about whether light can help or not. The one thing I always tell people is, bottom line is personal safety best practices. That's your safest bet in terms of keeping yourself safe. So whether that's traveling with a partner, being mindful of where you're parking, being mindful of your environment. What are you hearing? What are you seeing? And that poor lighting can reduce your safety. That false sense of security. Again, we've all been taught, right? Light keeps us safe. So if I turn on the magic light on the front of my house, or the parking lot has magical lights in it, I am now going to be safe. I can be scrolling through my feed as I'm walking across the parking lot at night, because the magic light will keep me safe. I don't have to pay attention to my surroundings. So that false sense of security that we get. Hiding places. So we've talked about that veiling luminance. Tools, we handed them that tool of light. Target selection. I had a great opportunity here about a month ago. Listen to the dark light ranger for one of the international dark sky parks in Wales. She relates that she would much rather encounter somebody, an unknown person, in the darkness of the park than in a well-lit city street. And that seems counterintuitive to us, right? It's like, why would you do that? Why would you feel more comfortable in the darkness? She says, in the darkness, I can't be targeted. They can't see how big I am. They can't see what I'm carrying. They can't see how old I am. You put me in a lit parking lot, now I'm a target. They can see I'm a woman. They can see I'm young. They can see I'm carrying a purse, and they can see I'm alone. All of these things that enable the bad guys to pick their targets. And bad guys aren't stupid, right? They're going to be out there deciding who to pick. And reduce surveillance. So we've lit up our cities, our residential streets with these horrible blue lights. What did we all do? We all ran inside and we closed our room darkening shades, and no one looks outside anymore. So we've taken the neighborhood watch programs offline because no one's watching anymore, because it's too painful and uncomfortable to stand out and look at that. So all of these things we did with the idea of making ourselves safer have the potential to make us less safe. So when you run into that, and I'm sure you run into it all the time, these are some things that you can think about sharing with these people. Okay, so what can you do? Turn off those unused lights, use shielded lights, use just what you need. Use the light that you need for the purpose at hand, but don't overlight. Use those warm lights, less than 3,000 Kelvin. That's going to keep you healthier. And then motion detectors, those are awesome. Those are going to let you know when something has triggered that light, something that you're maybe going to want to go look at. Sustainability and cost. Planet-wide, we use 380 terawatt hours for outdoor lighting every year. And I ran the numbers. I had to go look up what the Monticello nuclear power plant puts out. That's the equivalent of 65 Monticello nuclear power plants running 24/7, 365 just for outdoor lighting, just for outdoor lighting. Now that's globally, so only a part of that is what we use here in the United States. But of that 65 nuclear power plants, 20 of those plants are generating light that never hits the ground. It shines straight up into the sky. Think of that. We're running 20, the equivalent of 20 nuclear power plants just to light up the sky. And so there's a great opportunity for savings there if we were to just shield, redirect those lights down where they belong. Think of the energy savings that we could have there. Huge carbon footprint, of course. If all of the light in the United States, the outdoor light, is from coal-fired or fossil fuel emissions, we would have to plant 800 million trees year after year after year after year, every single year, in order to just keep up with those excess emissions from excess light at night. And the big kicker is the Department of Energy did a study a few years ago, and they found that far less than 1% of outdoor lighting ever reaches the human eye. Which makes sense if you think about it, those lonely lights out in the middle of nowhere, some lonely corner that no one's going to be at all night long, and that light is just burning. So there's lots of opportunities for us to save. Cultural heritage, of course, regardless of what our culture is, whether it's European, indigenous, Aboriginal, what have you, we all have deep, deep ties to the sky. That's where we put our collective cultural wisdom, those important things about how to navigate, when to sow our crops, when to reap those crops. All of those we told time by the stars. And so knowing how to navigate, if you're trying to move across the land or moving across the water, things that were vital for your survival, not just nice stories to tell in the sky, but vital for human survival, were in the night sky. And of course, in enrichment, music, poetry, sculpture, literature, science. Many say that astronomy was the first science. I believe it's true. And so to this day, from the earliest human civilization down to this day, the night sky has enriched our cultures, and we've depended on the night sky to continue to survive. And of course, many of us put spiritual and cultural connections in the night sky. Environmental justice, in light of the time, I won't read this, but the takeaway is everyone has the right to the night sky. And I would go further and say everyone has a right to darkness. Your neighbor may have a right to light up their yard the way they want to. They do not have a right to light up your yard. And I think that's something that's important that gets missed very often. So environmental justice, property rights even. Here's a great example of environmental justice. Some of you may be familiar with this program. This is called the Omnipresence Program. After stop and frisk was determined to be illegal in New York City, they decided, great, we're going to go after crime by putting in more light, because light keeps us safe, right? So they did. They put in all of these diesel-powered generators with lights that were 600,000 lumens each. 600,000, about as bright as 1,000 standard household light bulbs. And there were multiple of these on these poles. And of course, the generators were running. So you have the noise, the smell, and that glare. And there was police presence. You don't see it in these images, but each of these was staffed by a police officer, so driving up costs there. And what happened? Guess what? Crime actually did go down. It went down a lot. And so they said, we solved the problem. Yay, we've made the streets safe for crime. Until the researchers came in and started asking people how things were going. And what they were told was the reason crime was down is because the streets were empty, because no one could stand to be outside anymore. They were inside with not one, but 2 layers of roof darkening shades because of how much bright light was shining into their homes. They couldn't stand the smell. They couldn't stand the sound of the diesel generators. So they destroyed communities and complimented themselves for reducing crime. And it only cost them the community. So, you know, environmental justice. Awe, of course, I don't need to preach this to you guys. Every time you step outside, that's probably a major factor of why you do what you do, why you love that night sky, whether it's using just the naked eye or you're looking through your telescope, you're taking some of those great astro photos. That sense of awe, I think, is what drives many of us. And so it should. Awe is awesome, right? And the scientists tell us that awe doesn't just kind of make us feel good and have that experience, but it also helps our bodies. We physically reduce our stress. Our cortisol levels drop, our adrenaline levels drop when we are in the presence of awe. And it actually reduces our stress and boosts our creativity. We're more creative when we've had an opportunity to experience awe. But then beyond that, and this is what I didn't realize blows me away, is the sociologists look at it and they say, you know what? After people have experienced awe, the way they interact with the rest of the world, including their neighbors, the people around them, shifts. We become more socially positive. We become more altruistic. We're more generous, and we become more connected with people. And I think it's because we have that shared experience. You can be standing next to someone that maybe doesn't even speak English, doesn't share your politics, doesn't share your religion, doesn't share your color, but you're both looking up and you're having that same reaction to that awe that you're seeing, and that connects us. And I think that's vitally important, especially today. So emerging threats. So up until this point, everything I've been preaching is stuff that you're probably fairly familiar with. Some of this you may well be familiar with, the satellite mega constellations. Of course, we've got Starlink up there, but it's not just Starlink. This is a picture that was taken in China as part of the Under One Sky photo contest. So credit to the photographer there. But this is what he ended up with. I mean, look at all of those traces. I think some of those are at least a plane or two, but those are satellites. So Starlink obviously makes all of the press. It's got a lot of those. The Chinese have 2 different constellations they're putting up for another 27,000, rivaling Starlink. Kuiper is going up, and then we're getting these Blue Walker satellites that are fewer in number, but much greater in size, and they're going to be incredibly bright because they are direct to cellular. So they've got these huge antennas that are reflecting light. So if you haven't heard of Blue Walker, go and look those up. And then some of you may have heard of this. This is kind of the new dystopian one that has a lot of us very concerned. It's a startup company called Reflect Orbital. And their idea is they're going to put these big mirrors in space, and they are intended to be mirrors, unlike Starlinks that just happen to reflect light. The purpose of these satellites is to reflect light, and they are going to be selling sunlight as a service to paying customers. The idea is if you're a greenhouse or if you're a baseball team that plays outside, you can hire these people to shine a mirror from their position in space where they still are seeing sunlight down onto the ground and light up the greenhouse, light up the outfield, light up whatever you want, noting that it's a 5-kilometer wide beam. So heaven help you if your telescope is within 5 kilometers or 2.5-kilometer radius of someone that has paid these people to light up their event, light up their gender reveal party. There you are, and there's nothing you can do about it because it's up in space, and there's nothing that says they can't do that. So the first one's going up, we think, next year. They've applied for FCC licensing. The FCC tends to kind of rubber stamp these, and we're going to be seeing thousands of these. So absolutely dystopian in my humble opinion. And then I threw this one up here because this is really relevant to Minnesota Astronomical Society, because I couldn't find one nice map that showed Long Lake Conservation Center and this proposed mine all on one map. So you see, I tried my best to figure out if you extended that map, where's the Long Lake Conservation Center relative to this mine proposal. You've maybe heard of it, maybe haven't. This is a Kennecott mine. It's going to be another iron nickel sulfide mine that they're putting in over by Big Sandy Lake. By my measure, it's about 14 miles from where you guys go every year for your star parties. And they have leased 90,000 acres for mining up there. Now, there's still a lot of permitting that they have to go through and whatnot. But if you haven't heard about this, I wanted to get this on your radar screens that this is something you may want to be paying attention to and speaking up about. Okay, and then astrotourism and noctourism. I don't need to preach too much of this to you folks other than, you know, here's astrotourism. Obviously, you're out doing this all the time. You're going out, whether it's in your backyard or you're driving to northern Minnesota, you're engaged in astrotourism. So I don't need to pitch this one to you. Noctourism is really just an expansion of that. So stargazing is still part of noctourism, but so are these other things, experiencing wildlife, mindfulness. Last year up in Ely, we were doing star bathing out under, it was January, and we were going out doing star bathing and just experiencing some mindfulness, culture, night markets, adventures. You can go out. Somebody knows of a place you can go zip lining at night. I love to go night diving. So all of these things that you can experience during the day take on a whole new element at night. So think about when you're talking to people about the experiences they can have, the peak experiences, they're going to go somewhere really cool. Encourage them to think about adding a nighttime element to that and just having a whole new unexpected experience that they maybe hadn't even considered. So there's some great pictures of some nighttime experiences. So what can you do? So we've kind of gone all the way around those 8 different things that I think will make everyone care about light pollution. Now that we've got them kind of on the hook, what can you do to set that hook? And number one is lead by example. And so some of these things you may well have seen many times. So this is our 5 principles. When I say ours, it's Dark Sky International. That light should be useful, right? Let's not turn it off. That's that 1% number from the US DOE. Targeted, that 35% of light that goes up into the sky, point it where it needs to go. And especially don't point it in people's eye. Use whatever light level you need for the job at hand, but no brighter. Adding more light doesn't make it more anything. Doesn't make the job go faster. Doesn't make you see things any better. If there's enough light, there's enough light. End of story. Controls, we talked about motion detectors, timers, dimmers. Those are all great. And those color temperatures, the warmer, the better. Again, getting all of that melatonin destroying blue light out of our light sources. You can find these. You can tell people to look for on the back of their package of light bulbs, that light appearance. Look for that little arrow to be way over by that warm side. And then the soft white is also another good indication. This is fun. You can do this with your kids. If you've got kids, anyone can do this. Someone that's interested in it can do it as a school group. So you can go out and self-certify your home. There's a QR, and there's going to be a couple more QRs coming up here. If you want to grab these as I go through, great. Otherwise, I can show these slides later. But that QR will take you to a certificate that you can download. You go through a process. You're going to apply those 5 principles around your house. See that your house is dark sky certified. You upload your results and you just say, cross my heart, hope to die. Really, we did this. They'll send you a certificate. Can be a lot of fun for young families of any age, school groups, scout groups, what have you. So that was number 1. Number 2, support dark sky friendly businesses. This is a little bit newer. We're just launching this year. This is a way we wanted to say thank you and encourage businesses that are dark sky friendly. So they've done the right things. You can see those 3 things there: the horizontal cutoff lighting, no trespass, so they're keeping their light on their property, and they've got really warm light, 2700 K or dimmer. They do that. We're going to certify them. We're going to come out. This is free. We're all volunteers and we're a nonprofit. So we're going to come out. We're going to look at their lighting we're going to give them a certificate. We're going to give them window stickers that they can put on that door as people are walking in that identifies that business as being dark sky friendly, identifying them as someone that cares about the health and wellness of their customers, the health and wellness of their community. And I can share more information with that if people are interested. But this is something we've just launched this year, and we're planning to take it very big as we go forward. Some simple ideas for home businesses. We've talked about a lot of these, other than that first one on the top of the list. Close your curtains at night. That's that light spill. And I say this for businesses too. If you've got a business with a glass front, turn off those inside lights because that's creating light spill. If you're a home, close your curtains at night. Same thing. Keep that indoor light inside. You paid for it already, right? Might as well put it to use by keeping it indoors. What can you do? Number 3, citizen science. So 2 things, and I see I'm coming up tight on the time here, so I'll try to be brief. But citizen science, Globe at Night, you've heard about that, hopefully. And here's why. So we talked about, don't worry about the top half. That's too geeky. We're not going to talk about that. But the bottom half is important because what that is, all of those blue wavy lines, those are the wavelengths. That's the energy distribution of light coming from LEDs of various color temperatures. So the ones that have more blue over there, those are those 6,000 Kelvin color temperatures. A lot of blue, a lot less of not blue. And you see one that's down there at 1800. That's that orange one. Here's the important thing, that little green box that I've got over there. Remember we talked about the VIR satellites way up at the beginning, and they're telling us where all of the light pollution is. That green line, that green box pointing at the green line, anything to the left of that is invisible to that satellite. That satellite cannot see below 500 nanometers, which means all of the light coming from those blue bright lights looks like not light. So paradoxically, some cities that have switched from low pressure or high pressure sodium to very bright LEDs with a lot of blue light look to the satellite like they've gotten darker, when in fact the human experience on the ground is they're much brighter. And that's where Globe at Night can save the day, because now scientists can look at that data, that ground truth, and recalibrate the measurements that are coming from VIRS to understand what's really going on. And that's how we determined that light pollution is actually growing at 10%. The satellite said 2%, but we knew the satellite was wrong. And citizen science gave us the tool to see just how fast it was growing. So that's what Globe at Night is. This is something that's brand new, and I will, and I do mean brand new. This is from the International Astronomical Union. This is something that is still in the prototype stage, and that note at the bottom is very serious. Please do not share this publicly because it's not ready for public consumption. But I do have permission to take it to advanced amateurs such as yourself. So what is this? This is the next monitoring program. It's starting out as a visual monitoring program for advanced amateurs such as yourselves to go out and make a visual estimate of how bright these satellites are that are going over. And that is going to be data that is going to feed into the IAU to help them better understand what's going on with our nighttime environment, how artificial satellites are affecting our nighttime environment. So if you're comfortable and familiar with going out and estimating magnitudes or want to learn how to do it, right now I said it's visual, but then it's going to be going, eventually we hope to be doing this photometrically with images. If you're interested in getting on board with this, let me know. They're actively recruiting. They could really use some more helping hands with this. So if you're interested, drop your name in the chat or just email me. There's my email. I'll get you connected to the scientists that are actually doing this, and they really need your help. Okay, so what can you do? Fourth and final, support us. Hey, we are Minnesota's only chapter of Dark Sky International, right? We love the night sky. You love the night sky. Let's support one another. So what can you do? You jump on our mailing list. So there it is there. Our newsletter, we just launched that this year. So you can read that, contribute to that. It goes out 4 times a year. It's quarterly. So if you got some images, you got a story, you got some poetry, anything that you think people that enjoy the night sky would be interested in, we'd love to hear about it. Social media, so there's the QR for Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. really love to, it's something that we're focusing on this year. We're trying to boost our presence on social media. Follow us, repost our stuff. If you've got stuff you would like us to post, we'd love that. We would be happy to support you guys. Send us Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. And then finally, time, talent, treasure. Volunteer with us. Telescope optional. Maybe you just want to come out, help us talk to people about light pollution. Absolutely, we love and so value when you guys are able to bring out telescopes to some of our events. We depend on you. So thank you. Please keep doing that. We've got a couple opportunities coming up over the next couple months, so we'll talk about that. Promote those dark sky friendly businesses. There's a QR that'll get you to that. And then we would love to have your money. We need volunteers and we need money are the two things that are the care and feeding for Starry Skies North. And that's it from me, except to remember to play in the warmth of the sun, dance in the light of the moon, and dream in the glow of the stars.
Thank you very much, Todd.
You bet.
So I think we're just gonna wrap up here. And unless somebody's got a burning question, but what I want to do is open up the rest of the time so we have our swap meet going. And I do want to make our final yeah, I need to share. Go back to this. So basically, the results of our very heated vote are in. So announcing the 2026 MAS board is, ta-da. Oh, and Phil has the official numbers, just to confirm. We do have a quorum. We had 93 total. We had 89 total members vote. So we achieved the quorum, no problem at all. So everything's official. We're documenting all of the other things. The online vote is closed. The in-person ballot's closed. We're going to archive this, and we are happy to serve you for another year for the board. So thank you very much, and thanks for everybody coming. And then I will close that out, and then now we have time for Astrofest. Oh, and I was reminded we still have some Mars left. So if you're still hungry, oh yeah, we'll save one piece for Jessi, and then but there's still some cake left up front. So enjoy the last 15-20 minutes and buy and sell and enjoy next month. We don't have a confirmed speaker for next month yet. Ahmed's working on it right now, but it'll be here again on January 8th, 7 p.m. right here at the Education Center. And don't forget, after everyone packs their stuff up, Pizza Luce. See you next month. Thank you.